Good morning, happy Sunday morning. I'm Sarah Moore, and I help A-type moms make motherhood easy. I also help them make intentional living easy, and because I have been working for a very long time on creating a more intentional life, one of my dreams is to live in a tiny home, even for a year or two. And so every weekend I make progress towards the tiny life, because I don't know if you're interested in living in a tiny home, these 500 square foot and down to 100, 200 square feet homes, usually on wheels. You see people move from 3,000 square feet to 500 square feet or 300 square feet in a weekend, and it really, and usually what happens is 6 months later they have that little tiny house for sale because it's driven them nuts, because they tried to make the transition just by getting rid of stuff, which doesn't work. There has to be intention behind it. There has to be a mindset shift behind it, and so one of the things I want to help you do is develop that mindset and develop it slowly in the place you're at right now. So you don't have to make a drastic change of address. You can live a more intentional life where you're at, and maybe down the road move into a smaller place. The problem I find with tiny homes is there's nowhere, moving it into one, getting your stuff ready for one, that's the easy part. Building it, easy part. Finding somewhere to park it is nigh on impossible in most of the country. So while that's going on, let's be intentional and live a tiny life where we're at. So this weekend, my closet's been getting attention. I've done the complete closet declutter a couple times using Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which I will be talking more about in future broadcasts. But so that I don't have a whole lot of clothing to store, but I just wanted to walk through this room. This is my bedroom here, my office here, that have been created from one room as I transition my mindset into living in a smaller space. And one of the things you can do while you're in the accommodation you're at is actually start to partition room and to make the room smaller, to feel if it's viable for you, if it's something that you can do on a long-term basis in living in such a smaller space. Before you even commit to anything, just make the space you're in smaller. And I've done that here by dividing. Now this room is, looking at my notes, it's about 16 feet by 11.5 feet. So it's a reasonable sized room. But it's now 2 rooms, and I'm going to turn you around and we'll talk about clothing storage and how I've laid out the room to make it tiny. So let me turn us around and get you off the stand. Apologies for the delay. Okay, so, and as you can see, there is still plenty of space in this room. So let me move this guy over to the side. So here is the bedroom side. It's still, that's a queen size bed, so there's still plenty of space here, even though this is pretty much all of the space that I occupy for my bedroom. I have the divider here, which is a fabulous piece of furniture. And then we move over to the office side, where you see all this, everything that's in storage here is pretty much for the office side. And then I have the desk, and we'll get to more office storage. Eventually there'll be a curtain behind, if I stay here, a curtain behind the desk to partition it off, so it really is a bedroom. So this is the whole thing is the bedroom, and as you can see, double closet, which I would have used for all of my clothes. About 5-6 years ago, I would have filled this with all of my clothes, my shoes, my bags, my everything, because I didn't put out of season clothing in storage. So how do you move from that to being able to store, and very difficult to see, where I've got anything stored, but I will show you in a second. Now, eventually this bed is going to be replaced by a storage bed, so there'll be drawers underneath, but I have kind of rigged it up, as it were. Right now, if we go under here, we'll see sweaters in a box that just slides underneath there, and the top is actually pretty close to the bottom of the bed to stop cats and dust getting in. And then I've got other drawers here for other things, but pretty much when you declutter and you get to the point where you're just using a capsule wardrobe or a working wardrobe, this pretty much is all you need to store your clothes in. I mean, if we look in here, I've got socks, I've got tights, or pantyhose as they're called in Britain, underwear, pants and tops. These are all folded, and I can show you, and we can discuss more. Some things I fold, some things I don't like to fold. These are more rolled than folded, which I find keeps them wrinkle free, and then all the rest of the drawers have everything else in, and so that's really all I need for clothes storage. There are a few things left in the closet, but I will, once I get the storage bed, there'll be much more efficient use of the space underneath. And this over here has out of season things. There's a blanket in there, believe it or not, there's a blanket in there, and there's some other things in there that are not used too often. And then of course here is the shoes. Now I would make a lot better use of the vertical space, which is one thing when you're living tiny. You must use vertical space as efficiently as possible. The reason that this isn't stacked vertically is because this room is actually on a slope, and those would create a hazard if I stacked them, because that part of the floor is sloping. But here you can see there is plenty of space to put more storage in. Now I'm only living here by myself, but there is still plenty of space and storage that two people could be living in this room and have enough storage for their stuff, their clothes. And pretty much you don't need to store a whole lot other than clothes in your bedroom. There's my books that will eventually be in the bookcase headboard when it arrives. But this really, oh, and here we go. This is the one piece that I use on this side. There's the laundry hamper. It doesn't need to be big because I'm doing laundry every few days. So we come across here to the office side now. We've divided this room into office and bedroom, and it's a nice sized office. There's all the drawers with office supplies, with papers, and a desk with a credenza, again with more storage, just so I can spread out my papers with the laptop. And the printer and everything else now occupies this guy, so I can put my office away at the end of the day. There's still some clothes hanging there. We'll deal with that when the bed arrives, but here is my office solution, and I can just close it up and the clutter is gone at the end of the day. Now that did involve getting rid of an entire lawn bag, one of those big paper bags that you can get from the hardware store, full of papers, and ditching a lot of paper because you really don't need it. It's surprising how little paper I actually need. And as you can see, let me flip back in here. That's my file cabinet. That's my whole working file cabinet. I do have another one the same size with papers that need to be retained, such as tax papers and important documents, which is in one of these drawers here. So let me flip you back. It's taken 3 or 4 years for me to, actually I've been in this house 3 years now, so it's taken me 3 years to really now be able to put my bedroom function in the bedroom end and get out of the closet. There's a few things hanging there, they're going to go under the bed. So if you're looking to live intentionally and live tiny, then it is a process, and but it's definitely something that is doable, but just don't try and do it over the weekend, the whole thing over a weekend, and then move into a tiny house, because your mind won't be ready for that space. Your stuff might be ready, but your mind won't be ready. And there's lots that you can do to become ready within the space that you're in, and you may decide that it's not for you and live in a bigger space. But this is how this weekend I have finally moved pretty much everything from my bedroom into my bedroom. Just got one piece of furniture to get, and which I will show you when it arrives. And if you have any questions about moving, you know, really downsizing the closet, I can answer those. You just drop them in the comments. If you have, let me know if you are thinking of living tiny, where your biggest struggles are, and I'll see if I can help you address them. This is just one part of the house that's gone tiny. The rest of my house is also going tiny, but we're going tiny where we're at, because I just can't find a place to park a tiny house here. So we're plan B, go tiny right where you're at. So thank you for joining me. If you've watched this to the end, thank you very much. And I look forward to sharing more of my journey to tiny with you in the coming weeks.